and let us all do we can to build a better future.
We've been talking. I know you've been talking on the show about the situation with unemployment. That President Biden has said that if you are not accepting a job, you should have your unemployment benefits cut off. Now that has always been the policy, anyways. Mm-hmm. You are expected to accept any suitable employment offered to you, and so and how that's defined will depend on the state that you're in. It depends on a lot of factors. But one of the reasons is that people just don't want to take jobs that don't pay anything close to a living wage anymore. And one of those reasons is we've seen what's been happening in retail stores as well as restaurants with people just popping off. In fact, it's been happening on airplanes. The FAA has reported an increase in air violence and outbursts and attacks, which has got to be very frightening for everybody. I know a flight attendant who was telling me that during the thick of the global health crisis, the airline fares had gone down to like $25. So people were actually flying for amusement.
Mm-hmm.
And because
because no one's flying right now. That's right.
And it said that because the planes were no longer doing beverage service, people were bringing whole bottles of liquor on the plane with them. And
I'm sure that worked out well in all cases.
Yeah, I'm sure that was just fantastic. And so this was really quite something that was going on, and it was very frightening for the flight attendants when you're dealing with very intoxicated passengers. And the thing, that was a real issue. But yeah, the fast food restaurants, they can't give the jobs away. We saw that McDonald's in one area, they're offering $50 just to come in for an interview. Nobody wants to work in a situation where you're subject to abuse. We saw this happening in retail stores where people were being attacked, they were being spit on, and just for asking somebody to wear a mask. And why would you do this for $10 an hour?
Yeah, it's so funny that we've talked about this before, when Republican legislatures are like, hey, these businesses can't survive if we tax them anything at all. We should tax them nothing at all. But then when you're a regular person, one of their constituents, and this is also carries over, of course, to Democrats as well, that you're one of their constituents and you're like, yeah, I'd rather not be attacked and spit on for $10 an hour while my boss berates me and I don't have a set schedule. They're like, well, no, you got to work, man, or you're not going to get employment. There's a bit of a dichotomy in these outcomes.
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind is that future unemployment benefits are based on your previous salary. And this happened, I remember this very, very clearly happening back during the recession in 2008, 2009, is some people, for example, were on unemployment. They would go and take a Christmas job or a holiday job at a retail store to bring in some extra money. And then when they were laid off from that because it was a seasonal job and they went to apply for unemployment benefits again, they found that their amount of benefits was, half of what they were making before, which is not very much, because their benefits were being calculated on their most recent employment, which was this low-paying seasonal job. So there are some very good reasons why a person may not want to take a job that doesn't pay a living wage, because it could inhibit their ability if that job doesn't work out or that job closes down. And remember, we're supposed to be opening up the country right now. We still don't know what is happening. We are still in the middle of a global health crisis. If a variant crops up, this could get weirder.
I'm still worried about that.
And things could get shut down again. And these folks are finding that their unemployment benefits are even less than they were before. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for these individuals to take a bad job to begin with. Now, one question that has been coming up is the issue of how the state finding out that somebody has turned down an offer of employment. And as it turns out, and I didn't realize this, but there's actually many states actually have a form that employers can fill out to report somebody who has turned down an offer of employment. And I'm just looking over these. Okay. Now, some of these cases, they're after employers who are calling workers back after a layoff, but apparently these can be used by any employer. And if they are getting somebody's information, like their social security number and their name and their personal details, they are able to file these reports with the state, and that can put that person's unemployment benefits in jeopardy. It doesn't mean that they're automatically canceled, but the state at that point has the leeway to instigate an investigation. Now, again, I think if suitable employment is offered, that the whole point of unemployment insurance is that once you don't need the insurance anymore, you can go back to work, and that's fine. But I can also very much understand why low-paying jobs that are dangerous are something that people do not want to bother with.
Yeah, and I can also like imagine just from like an employer's side, if you're like if you're working at McDonald's and apparently they're paying $50 for people to pop in just to be interviewed. Oh man, if you have a bad interview and you maybe exchange words with that employer, it might be a little incentivized to try and hurt you.
Yeah, and what I would say is if you're going to do anything about, if you're going to go into a job interview, don't offer up an application, don't fill out an application with your personal information until you've actually vetted the job yourself, because you don't want somebody getting vindictive and reporting you to unemployment agency.
Especially McDonald's manager. That seems just... It's like, imagine you're in a situation, you don't want the job, you don't want to be spit on, you don't want to be exposed in the way, you don't want to have bad management, you don't want to be attacked, you'd like to be paid more, and by making all these, I'm going to say, suitable choices, you're that manager can screw you over. I wish there were more ways for the little guy to win.
Right now you have to be content with a Happy Meal. And actually, to reinforce my position on this issue, Walmart headline: Walmart and Target suspend sales of Pokemon cards for safety reasons. These are also including other trading cards. Target will no longer sell Major League Baseball, NFL, and NBA and Pokemon trading cards as of May 14th to ensure the safety of our guests and team members. So
I don't get how are they fighting over these in store? Like, how does that scenario happen repeatedly?
Apparently, there was a huge uptick during 2020.
Okay.
Which, if you think about it, makes a certain amount of sense.
Yep.
The kids are out of school; they may be in pods and that sort of thing, and they're looking for something to do. Apparently, there was a. Apparently, there's also been a scalping. It's scalping. It's kind of like the catalytic converters. People are going for the trading cards. Apparently, according to an article in Vice, there was a fight about trading cards in a parking lot of a Wisconsin Target, and a gun was drawn. And that in Brunswick, Maine, $20,000 of sports trading cards were stolen from a store.
Just like gift cards, I guess.
Well, I think the thing here, though, again, is that this is something that I predicted a lot, last year, was that the stress of all this is leading to people popping off.
And America is already well known for its well-run mental health care system.
Yeah, and so people are just popping off at each other in stores, in McDonald's, and I can't blame people for not wanting to take jobs in these establishments.